What's going on, guys? Nice to see you again here. So today I want to talk about something that is a little deeper than Amazon FBA, a little behind the scenes a bit. I currently am having troubles, very hard troubles, very extreme troubles focusing, sitting down, doing the work. Obviously that's a great deal to do with motivation as well. I can't do anything right now. Okay. It just, I try to sit down and nothing happens. I try to, focus on, my path is so clear. I have a lot of simple goals of what I want to hit, whether it's with my Amazon FBA business or, helping students, things like that. And I can't do the work. Why I'm saying that is because I doubt I'm the only one that goes through this, and this is not the first time this has happened to me, of just kind of losing all motivation and focus. My mind is very scattered. It's very unclear, very cloudy. I hate to say like it sounds like I'm super depressed or anything like that, but it's harder to get out of bed. I'm not super stoked to get up and get going and start working on things. When I'm doing things, and the things I'm motivated doing are not healthy habits. They're not healthy habits at all. They're things that actually make my life a lot harder and a lot harder to focus. So I want to make this video here today because I know I'm probably not the only one who has this issue. And I want to share what I'm trying to do to kind of re-get this motivation back in my life, get the focus back, get the clarity back, and what I think the issue is, personally for me, or part of the issue. This is not, there's 100 different reasons why you could possibly be unmotivated to do something, but most of the time in our society, it's pretty easy to know where to start. And I want to go deep into this. So this is not your typical Amazon FBA lesson. This is more of like the deep entrepreneur, deep rooted kind of side of things. And I think that I think this is actually more important than most strategies I teach you. So hopefully stick around here. Hopefully I can share exactly what I'm doing. Maybe some of this stuff really clicks to you. Maybe this is like a eye-opening type deal for you that really lets you kind of understand like why the hell am I struggling to do this, or why I keep doing these terrible unmotivating tasks, or maybe I'm hurting myself in some way, and maybe some self-sabotage. So we're going to dig into my screen. I'm going to show exactly what I'm going through and show you exactly what I'm going to do to try to help myself get out of bed a little bit better in the morning and sit down and do the work and get motivated again. Because right now I don't want to do anything besides eat terrible foods and watch TV, watch Netflix, get on my phone, things like that. And it's getting out of hand. All right, so hopping into my screen here, we can see I made a little write-up here. I had some fun with it. I'm a super visual guy, so hopefully this guy's, it really helps you out to follow along and go through all these steps. Plus, I didn't want to miss anything either. So just because there's a lot of small details in this kind of thinking, what we're trying to do here. But I think very fittingly, I called it "The Funk is Real." So, because I'm in a funk, and it's real, all right, very real. But what I'm focusing on to get out of my current funk and to restore motivation and clarity is kind of what I'm going to go over here. So again, we got bullets here. I'm just going to talk through each thing. I got some resources here to show you guys of things that I'm using to help me out, get out of the funk. Again, it's going to make sense as we keep going on. Again, I think this is more important than any Amazon FBA strategy you can possibly learn if you want to become an entrepreneur, not just in Amazon FBA, but in anything. It's going to really help you out in life. So going down here, we're going to talk about dopamine detox. Okay, so if you guys don't know what dopamine is, it's essentially, I'll probably butcher this because I'm not a doctor or a neuroscientist or anything like that. There's a lot of information out there about this stuff from real doctors, so feel free to get that out there. I'll list off some resources at the end here where you can go check it out a little bit more as well. But dopamine essentially is what motivates us. It's a neurotransmitter in the brain where it helps you get out of bed essentially, right? Or say you're a caveman and you're going to starve or running out of water. This is the thing that kind of like gets you up and gets you going. It's like it tells you to like, hey, we need to go get stuff done or we're going to die. Okay, so dopamine is a very primitive thing that we use, and that's why it's so messed up in today's society, because we have essentially a limited of it. We're so comfortable. We have all the food we can eat. We have foods with dense calorie intakes. So it feels really good to eat these foods, with the foods I'm talking about, fast food, sweets, desserts, things like that. So this thing is essentially, how I understand it anyways, is there's a baseline of dopamine. And so when you have this baseline of dopamine, it it's and you're going through your body, that's kind of your baseline of motivation. What happens though, and I can't explain the science of this, again, this is something if you go deeper in, I'll give you the resources to do so. But every time you take a very stimulating spike up, so like say a dopamine hit, right? So say you drink some alcohol, say you have some caffeine, say you are watching Netflix, say you're checking your phone, you're very stimulated by Instagram, things like that. What happens is you get a big dopamine spike. Okay, so you're doing something very pleasurable. And so your body takes a spike in, and what happens is that baseline, to protect yourself, again, this is getting into deeper stuff, but to protect yourself, that baseline lowers of your dopamine. And so the more dopamine spikes you keep giving yourself, the lower your baseline goes. And so, like, if you're on your phone all the time, again, we'll talk about, things that trigger this thing. Say you watch a lot of porn. So, say you're watching a ton of Netflix. Say all you're eating is candy and McDonald's, things like that. You're going to keep getting these dopamine hits, things that make you feel good for a little while. And the way the body works, again, just deeper into it, your baseline drops each time that to protect yourself, to make sure that you're self-regulating. And we have so many things in our society that's peaking this dopamine that our baselines are super low. So if you ever felt super unmotivated, lazy, can't get out of the bed, anything like that, this is probably your dopamine super low. And just kind of look at your habits, which we're going to talk about here, whether it's if you're just sitting there on your phone scrolling all day, right? If you ever scrolled on Instagram for 2 hours just doing that, I've never felt good after that. I've never felt good, or binging Netflix all day. So that leads into how do we get back to baseline levels? We need to do a little detox, and detox isn't a proper term here. It's just like it's something easy to remember to know what we're trying to do here. Obviously, you can't detox and get rid of all dopamine in your brain because you'd cease to exist probably. But what happens is you're limiting the spikes that are happening in your life, so your baseline goes higher, so you're just naturally more motivated, naturally more happy, and everything like that. So what you should do is just try to identify what these things are in your life. First one is TV, Netflix, things like this. We're really bad at this stuff. We're just watching Netflix all day, just getting dopamine. And these shows know how to hook you in, get you more dopamine spikes. So you sit there and just like, especially at the end, they know what they're doing. We're just going to watch one more episode, watch one more episode, watch one more episode. This is what's going on here. This is this addictive little behavior that, these shows are triggering for dopamine. Same thing with like gambling or anything like this, but on a lower level. Obviously, gambling or drugs is super high, right? It's going to create a higher dopamine spike, which makes you even more and more addictive. Where TV is a lower level, but still just enough to keep you edge. So how we do this is we stop TV for a while. We stop TV for a week. I currently have my TV unplugged for a week. I don't want to fall in the strap because when I'm unmotivated, that's all I do is I turn Netflix on, I get on my phone, things like this. So I'm just going to run through all this and then I'll talk about anything else that kind of, fits into that. So what I'm doing for my dopamine detox is no TV for a week. This might extend longer if needed, anything like that. I will not be turning my phone on until 10 a.m. Okay, so I think a big trap people fall into is right when they wake up, they get on their phone, they get on the toilet, or they check in bed and they check their phone. And so you're looking at Instagram, your brain instantly goes into a receptive mode. You're getting those dopamine hits right in the morning. So right after bed, you're just super unmotivated because you've already spiked those dopamines and you're already kind of lowering your baseline for the day. Try this. Just being self-aware, you can really see this stuff. Next, all apps deleted on my phone. So I deleted all my apps. I think I have my phone here somewhere. I could show you guys. Hopefully you can see it. I just have the Google Calendar here to keep my schedule up in there, so I can make my schedule for the next day. But I have all notifications off, everything like that, and my phone has no apps, anything like that. So of course I have some apps on there. I've deleted them from the home screen. I can still search them if I need them. But what I'm trying to do here is every time, because that stupid habit of you reaching for your phone, because the dopamine has got you addicted. It's got you programmed to reach out and get a little spike of dopamine. When you see those apps, when you see those little red notification bells, especially, I hate, my girlfriend does this. She's got the mail app and it's got like 3,000 emails on that little red bubble there. Oh, it's disgusting. And so you getting these things off your phone are going to help you when you reach for it. You realize there's nothing there. Like, oh, what just happened? How did I reach for that? I didn't even think about that. So this gives you a little thing, and it gives you a little bit more time, because obviously you can search and re-download these apps. You have a little bit more time to be like, realize like, give yourself a moment of like, oh, what the heck? Like, I can't believe I just did that without thinking. And this is what I'm talking about. This is really where it gets into your head of like, you start being aware of what you're doing, all these habits, and you can kind of get a control of yourself a little bit more. Okay, next, all social media blocked on my computer. Okay, so you can have Chrome extensions on your computer. Obviously, what I do is all laptop based here, right? All laptop based. And so all we can do is get these Chrome extensions, which I listed right here for you, Newsfeed Eradicator. And the second one's one of my favorites here. But what this does is I go over here instead of my YouTube, because YouTube is the devil to me. It gets me going each time. I could fall into rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole on YouTube. And so what this does, it just clears the home screen. Because every time I log into YouTube, right, obviously this video's on YouTube, so I'm on YouTube all the time. I don't see any suggested videos that are triggering thumbnails, triggering my dopamine to go watch. You know, I watch one thing, it's like, oh, just watch one more, and all of a sudden my whole workday is gone. So I eradicated this on my newsfeed. This also, if you go, you know, say you need something to go watch for work, you can still search stuff right here. And what happens is you can just see what you're searching, click on that, and it's not gonna have any suggested videos on the right side either. So it's just very helpful. Next thing with my Facebook here. So again, this just eradicates all the feed here, all the posts, everything like that. That way, you know, you're not getting sucked into post, anything like that. So that's what the newsfeed eradicator does. This works for Instagram, things like that. Go ahead and download it. It's a Google Chrome extension. This next one's funny. I'm not going to show this just because of how kind of YouTube works, and it, you know, shows things down. But if you put in certain URLs, so say you have a Twitter problem, you type in Twitter on this Chrome extension, and every time you go here, instead of that going to twitter.com, it goes to this Chrome extension, and it tells you a funny thing with some obscene language to go back and get your stuff done, right? And it's pretty funny. If you got a more cynical view of this kind of stuff, this is your app right here. Obviously, I blurred out this, but the full app is, you know, what you think that word is right there. So these are super helpful to make sure that you're not getting overstimulated, you know, when you're working or on your phone, things like that. Next, porn. So porn, you know, looking at you guys, you fellas, you know, obviously some females probably watch it too, but this is so bad for your brain. It's up there. You know, I didn't even put drugs and alcohol on here because, you know, obviously those are super high there. But you know, the higher the dopamine spike, the worse your baseline level goes down, and the worse you feel unmotivated after that. So porn is up there with, you know, drugs and alcohol, most likely. You know, drugs that ranges from, you know, there's less severe drugs to very, very severe drugs like methamphetamines, cocaine. Obviously, that's off the charts and everything like that. And that's why they're super addictive. Same thing with gambling. Porn, same thing. I'm getting the stupid habit of watching porn as a guy. It's so stimulating. It's so over. It just rewires your brain too. It's that stimulating. So, you know, stop watching porn. And trust me, your life will get a lot better if you stop watching porn. You'll be a lot more motivated. You'll be a lot more attracted to the other sex to go have the confidence to go talk to them, everything like that. Okay. Next, overstimulating foods. So sweets, fried foods, you know, ice cream, things like that. This obviously triggers a lot of dopamine. We're not, as a human species, used to having a bowl of highly saturated fats and loaded with 40 grams of sugar, which is your ice cream. When you take that, your brain's like, oh, right? It's a mini orgasm. And so what happens if you keep eating these terrible foods for you that are super high in dopamine? I shouldn't say super high in dopamine. That's not kind of how it works, but super high in things that stimulate you. Your brain's going to want that over and over again. All of a sudden, these foods that are good for you, like broccoli, things like that, don't taste good at all. That's why if you go for a cleanse on these super overstimulating foods, all of a sudden, a week later, again, this takes time. This takes a lot of time to rewire your brain back to these things. That's why it's important to kind of be aware of these things. Take like a 7-day cleanse. But after that, you can go ahead and have broccoli or have a piece of lean chicken breast, and it tastes good. Like these whole foods start to taste good again, right? When you're eating fast food every day, of course broccoli doesn't taste good because you're eating a McDouble. And don't get me wrong, I freaking love McDoubles and love McChickens. McChickens are kind of my guilty pleasure. Okay, so you think about this. Okay, you just got to think about this as another thing that triggers dopamine. Again, I'm not saying you can't go have fun, you can't do all these things, but if you're unmotivated and you're lacking focus and it's harder for you to get out of bed, you're just not having a good time. then you probably need to cleanse and just kind of sacrifice 7 days, or if it's even more extreme, it could be up to 30 days to kind of get yourself back in order. That way these things are fun again. And then when you kind of go off that wagon again, right, because our world's full of this stuff, you can get back, go back and clean some stuff up and be like, oh, I've been eating these terrible foods. That's why this broccoli doesn't taste very well to me. Okay, so you kind of understand these things. Next, this one's so underrated, but multitasking. So we multitask all the time. We're talking to someone, we're on our phone, scrolling, we have multiple tabs open, everything like that. And we're trying to do 7 things at once. This creates a scattered brain, right? Because we're just getting a little dopamine here, a little dopamine here, a little dopamine here as we're working around. This goes more into the focusing aspect and training your focus, which we'll talk a little bit more on in a little bit. But just focusing on that one thing and just doing it, it's going to help you keep that train of thought for so much longer in making those big tasks that you need to get done to become an entrepreneur, to have a successful Amazon business, to have a successful business in general. These are the things. This allows you to sit down and do 2 hours of undisturbed work. And because if you're multitasking, you're going to do maybe two to three things, and it's going to be 20% of the way done, and you'll never get anything done at all. Or if it is, it's poorly done work. So you need that deep focus, that deep kind of, like I said, deep focus, right? So multitasking is what kind of scatters your brains apart, makes it so you're like a little goldfish. This every second, so you just, you lose your train of thought and you can't focus, you can't get anything done. Okay. Dopamine is a big player into that as well. All other super stimulating activities. Obviously, this world has endless amount of these activities and everything like that. So you just have to start being aware of these things. Okay. I'm not saying that you can't have pleasure in life, but you may need to kind of reset yourself a little bit. If you've been on your phone and you scroll Instagram and that's been your routine for 2 years and you just normally do that without thinking, you need to reset for 30 days, for 7 days. You need to take some time off. And guess what? This is so hard. This is probably one of the hardest things you could do in your life, just to start to get in control of this. But once you get in control of this, your life changes. You're no longer victim to everything this world throws at you. Now you're in control. Now you can go do whatever you want to do. Okay. So this is huge to do. Just know that I'm in the middle of this right now. I'm on like day 3, day 4 of this right now. I am so freaking bored. I feel awful. I feel like, I just slept for like 12 hours. And it's just because my brain doesn't know what to do. It wants to check the phone, but the phone's off and there's nothing to do on the phone. So it's like my brain doesn't know what to do. So it's kind of like rewiring to be like, oh, maybe I should go for a walk, or hey, oh, maybe I should go exercise. Oh, maybe I should get some work done. And all of a sudden, since you're not overstimulated, you have some natural motivation, some natural dopamine to go get work done, because you haven't set the bar so high where work is the most boring thing in your life, right? If you're watching porn, if you're eating great food, if you're on social media all day, yes, work is going to be so boring. It's going to be so boring. Okay, so this is what we're trying to reset. So work is fun, and it should be fun, and it can be fun. You just set the bar too high, and now you have to rewire your brain to know that like normal mundane task can be stimulating, can be fun, right? Getting excited about a customer, getting excited about a product. These things are kind of fun. They're very stimulating, but our brains are just too high here. So hopefully you understand that. I know there's a lot to that. Feel free to ask me questions down below on that if you want, but let's keep moving along. Okay. So the next page of The Funk is Real, caffeine cut. Okay. So caffeine isn't what you think for most people. Okay. This caffeine messes me up bad. And this has taken years to kind of realize, because you get stuck into it. It's something that makes you feel good. So it's like, it's very addictive. And then your body kind of, because it wants that addictive substance. So it starts making excuses. Like if you're a little drug addict, like a little crackhead, and it makes excuses of why it's not that bad for you, why it's okay to have another espresso or something like that. So this caffeine, once I realized caffeine messes me up so bad, it makes me irritated. It gives me the freaking shakes. Like, I get very high anxiety in the evening after I have caffeine, and it just makes me not feel good. It's really that much. Okay. I will say the first 7 days you don't have caffeine if you've been on it for a long time. That is also one of the most painful things. But it's that hard. Once you get over that hump, it feels great. Okay. I won't go too deep into why caffeine isn't really that good for us, besides the fact of caffeine comes from plants. Plants don't like to be eaten. Okay, so what caffeine does, why these plants make caffeine, is to avoid being eaten. Okay, so on a lower level of this whole thing, bugs will die if they eat caffeine, or most of them, I should say. I don't know the full science of that, but the whole reason plants make caffeine is so bugs don't eat them. Okay, so we're ingesting this thing that's meant to be essentially a pesticide for bugs so the plants don't eat them. Okay, I'm not saying that that makes it bad or good for us to drink or eat, but that gives you kind of the first sign of realizing like what this thing is actually meant to do. Okay, so if you've been on caffeine for a long time, if you're unmotivated, if you're always tired, if you just need more caffeine to stay awake or get anything done, this is probably a sign that caffeine's kind of messing you up. If you're high anxiety in the night, you're having trouble sleeping, it could be caffeine. Okay, there's other factors in there. There could be a million different factors of why you're not sleeping or you can't focus, but this is another common one in our society. We all drink caffeine. It's like 90% of us. It's ridiculous. Okay, so if you want more info on this, you can go get a book called Caffeine Blues. This goes into Wake Up to the Hidden Dangers of America's Number One Drug. Goes into the deep part of why caffeine isn't as good for you as you think, and it actually is making you kind of depressed and unmotivated and feeling like crap. Okay. Again, I'm not saying caffeine is wrong for everybody. There's a lot of successful people that drink caffeine are doing just fine. But for me personally, caffeine messes me up. Okay. If you're crazy addicted and you need to get off slowly, try to switch to matcha tea. That's usually what I do. Matcha is lower in caffeine, so it still has a little caffeine, and I still get those. I still feel the effect of caffeine a little bit, but at least it's not like going cold turkey out. I do recommend for dopamine detox and caffeine at some point doing a full just a full cut of everything. Just doing it cold turkey. Okay, so going 30 days without caffeine, give it a shot sometime. Okay, if you feel like you're like Cameron, I don't need all this stuff. I'm in full control. Then just okay, that's fine. Go 30 days without caffeine if you're hooked on caffeine or without some social media things like that, and tell me you don't feel so much better. Okay, so give it a shot. If you feel like you're in control, you should be able to do this easily, right? And this will kind of open your eyes of kind of figuring out, okay, maybe I can't do this so easily. Maybe this has more control over my life than I thought. Okay, so that is it. I'm not a big proponent of caffeine. If you're trying to be an entrepreneur and trying to have focus throughout the day, I love caffeine too. That's one's so hard for me because I love feeling like Superman for about an hour. But after that hour, I just crash and I feel terrible. And I get nothing else done for the rest of the day. All I do is crave crappy foods. It seems like my willpower just vanishes, and all of a sudden I'm eating sweets and eating pizza and things like that, and I can't control myself. Where if I don't have caffeine, I'm off of it. I have more control over myself. I don't get the science behind it. Totally could have something to do with dopamine, could have something to do with everything else. I'm not sure. Okay. Next thing, get healthy. Okay. I know this one sounds generic, but we're going to dig a little deeper than most people dig when it talks about getting healthy. Okay. So a little bit about my story. I'm kind of, I hate to say this, but and kind of speak that way about myself, but I'm going through some health stuff right now. Like I have a lot of things that are telling me that I'm not that healthy. Okay, this is work related. This is actually some bad luck I have too. If you don't know my story, I got Lyme disease back when I was 21. My face went paralyzed, and this thing's been wreaking havoc on my body for about 5 to 6 years. Some people it doesn't have that effect on. Some people it does. I'm guessing my stress, my habits, everything like that really didn't make it easy on my body to get rid of this thing, and everything like that. So I have tons of infectious kind of viruses from the tick inside my body. I won't get deep into that, but there's a lot of tick-borne illnesses. Once Lyme gets in there, it kind of regulates the immune system to my eyes and kind of how I understand it. And it just lets all these things go wreak havoc on your body. And that's been happening to me in 5 years. And I just figured it out about a year or two ago and trying to heal myself. Okay. So what happened on top of this and what I'm going to get into for you guys, because it could be affecting other people, not saying Lyme, but Lyme just made me more of a more susceptible to these issues. A lot more susceptible doesn't mean this can't be an issue for you or it is an issue for you. I just know that my over exaggerated state of this stuff made me kind of realize what issues people can actually have and how it can affect your body, your brain, your motivation, everything like that. Okay. So getting into those big things for me. So Lyme, for some reason, it could be Lyme, could have been a lot of things that are wrong with my body. It seemed to be a perfect storm of things. But what happened was the first thing I kind of realized from my doctor, and we'll get about how I found this doctor kind of helped me realize these things, is I had no hormones. My body stopped making testosterone and estrogen. It was very, I shouldn't say totally, but it was very low level, especially for a male. I had like, it was like 1/3 of the floor of the lowest point of testosterone I should have in my body, especially for my age, right? I'm only 27 here. So this was alarming. I didn't have any estrogen either because, even guys have a little bit of estrogen. That was like plummeted floor levels here. So yeah, I'm going to feel pretty crappy. I'm going to feel pretty unmotivated. I'm going to feel pretty terrible. If a man, especially a man, doesn't have testosterone in his body, yeah, that's kind of a big source of energy, a big source of drive for that person. Okay, so I had to figure this out, fix it out. And this was done by a simple blood test and everything like this. This opened up some other things to me to kind of realize what was going on. Next, I'm kind of working backwards here, is mold. So I was in a home with tons of mold, especially with Lyme. This makes you more susceptible and more sensitive to this stuff. It makes your I shouldn't say, I should just say immunity. Makes your immunity go crazy. Most people can sit in a moldy home and be fine, but what happens is when your immunity kind of goes nuts, especially with the Lyme, it kind of over stimulates your immune system to go fight this mold off in your body, and it just kind of depletes everything. It just kind of your body goes just kind of crashes in the floor there. Again, it's not a very scientific way to put this. I've put a lot of hours and time kind of figuring this out with doctors and everything like that. There is a certain percentage of people, about 20 to 30% of people genetically have susceptibility to being super sensitive to mold, and it can cause a lot of issues. I won't go deep into that, but it's something you can find on YouTube and find in a lot more places. If you think mold's an issue in your life, you can definitely dig deeper in that. And there's some simple, they're called mycotoxins, but you can take a urine test and kind of figure out there's a high level of mold in your body, which there was for me. I actually tested in my home, and it was hazardous levels of mold. So I moved. I got that figured out. I treated my next place because there's always a little bit of mold. You can't get rid of mold completely. It's almost impossible, especially in today's age where everything's locked down like Fort Knox when it comes to the new buildings they put up. There's a lot of old buildings too, and if you live in the South or live with somewhere where it's a really humid place, you're going to have this issue. Okay, so you're just going to have to deal with it, figure it out, and see if it's an issue for you. Most likely, everybody I know doesn't have this issue. It's just me. So I'm just like giving this out because if you're having issues, this may be one of them. Okay, so simple mycotoxins test. You can Google that. You can look this up. Hormones, I would talk to your doctor. I'll get more about that. Heavy metals. Some mold I tested for mycotoxins have a super elevated level I forgot the type of mold, but anyways, getting that down. Next, I did a heavy metals test, and I used to paint houses in college, a lot of old houses. Guess what's in those old houses when you scrape that paint off? Lead paint. Okay, so I had a super elevated level of lead in my blood. Lead lead and mercury are one of the worst metals you can have in your body. And this, I think, is a cause of a lot of my issues. I'm currently detoxing from it now. Again, it's very complicated, but I'm getting rid of this lead, or trying to anyways, to help me feel better, get more motivated. Okay, so this could be an issue for you too. If you live in a place that has it in the water, I shouldn't say lead or mercury, but there's other, heavy metals. Maybe you eat a lot of sardines, or you eat a lot of, big fish, big game fish. You could see some higher levels of arsenic or mercury, right? This stuff's not good for you. And we're all genetically different, where some people can get rid of this stuff easily, detox from it easily. Okay, that detox word is weird. Some people think it's hooey gooey, but this is kind of my understanding of getting rid of it, right? Detox. Some people can get rid of this stuff easily. Some people it can't. You have lower levels of, certain, supplements. Essentially, glutathione is the first thing that pops in my mind here. But getting rid of this stuff is hard for some people, and you need to go test, and sometimes you need help for this. Okay. Next is GI, so your gastrointestinal tract there. And so you can have a lot of issues with this. You could have leaky gut. You could have, you have a lot of immune functionality inside your gut, inside your intestines. You can have issues here. You can take this by doing a stool sample. It's not the funnest thing in the world, but I learned a lot about my what's the word for it? My bacteria count, good and bad. And I learned a lot about my immune system within my gut, and I was able to kind of tune that up. This is probably the least of my problems, but I was able to take some lower markers and move them higher. And I did that with the help of a functional doctor. Okay. So functional doctor gets a lot of heat, rightfully so. There's a lot of quacks out there. Okay. So it took me a long time to find the right doctor to really help me out. Okay, to really help me understand what was wrong with my body, things I can improve on. Again, sometimes it's not something's not wrong with your body, but if you want to stay in optimal health, optimal peak focus, thinking and health, sometimes you just need a little tune-up. Sometimes things are a little low. Okay, so I was able to find a functional doctor who wasn't just going to give me herbs and tea and rub ointments on me or something like that, but someone who actually took real blood tests and understood Western medicine, and it's a little bit of Eastern medicine. Okay, essentially just looking at the body as a whole is all this really means. So they're able to look at all my blood levels, all my blood tests, and realize, this is wrong, and this kind of leads me down this list of 4 right here of what was kind of going on in my body to help fix it. Okay, so again, talk to a bunch of people to help you weed out the quacks. There are a lot of quacks out there. I experimented with this myself, and I had to learn the hard way for a couple of things. So make sure you talk to a lot of people. Make sure they're taking, blood tests. Make sure they're actually have some Western backing as well. I've never been to a doctor at a normal hospital that's not like, your traditional, say, what do you call it? Family practitioner that's looked at these things I wanted to look at, or, they've never looked at my GI. They never looked at heavy metals. They never looked at mold. They never looked at my hormones. It took me to the next level of functional doctor to actually know that there's so many things that we weren't looking at. And this is how I discovered where these big things in my life were kind of lacking. Okay. 2, they will help you understand blood tests and which ones to take, right? We talked about that, or what supplements are what things you need to do to fix these issues. Okay. So yeah, again, I know a lot of people don't have a ton of money to go research stuff, but a lot of functional doctors are covered by healthcare and everything like that. There's some, tests that are also covered. If you find the right doctor, it can help you get covered by insurance as well. Next, exercise and diet. I won't cover this too much, but I won't cover this too much, but it is the most important part. So it's boring, but most important. Exercise is hard for me sometimes, especially in the morning, especially when I'm busy. I use a trainer. I pay him to make me go, essentially. So I'm paying him. So I wake up, I'm like, I have to go. I'm paying this freaking guy. Okay, this is how I motivate myself. Some people don't have that option. But you need to figure out a routine. You need to, figure out how you're going to get moving every day. Okay. And so the biggest thing, this doesn't have to be, you don't have to go be a bodybuilder. You don't have to go do anything. Just 15 minutes hit exercise per day. This is like I call it the MVP, minimal viable product. Is all this means in business sense is it's the lowest level of what you can do to get the most results. Okay. I think of the 80-20 rule there, essentially. And so this is a good way. You can go on YouTube and find 15-minute hit exercises. I suggest not watching YouTube to do this. Maybe write them down after YouTube because you might get stuck. This is what happened to me, but I get stuck watching a bunch of other fitness videos, right? So it doesn't have to be crazy. It could be a quick run in the morning. It could be a quick, hit exercise. It could be going to the actual gym. Depends on what you like. Make it fun. If you make it fun, exercise fun, whether if you love running or you love swimming, if you love basketball, then this is so easy. But this is, again, most important part. Diet, stop eating trash. Think whole foods, okay? So whole foods that have just one ingredient in it. So if it's chicken breast, the only ingredient is chicken breast, okay? These, if you go to these box meals or anything like that, you can see an ingredients list so long, and 50 things on it. No, whole foods, broccoli is broccoli, right? The ingredient list for broccoli is broccoli. Think of it this way. Okay, I'm not saying you can't go enjoy something here and there, but your base diet should be whole foods. And I can get into the keto and get into the paleo and get into the vegan stuff, but the sense of it, we just need to be eating whole foods, and you'll be 99% ahead of everybody. And you don't have to worry about these things where, like, keto is not good for some people, vegan is not good for some people, and they're very hard to maintain healthily. And it's just something I don't recommend for most people. Moving on, guys. This has been a dense one. Hopefully you're getting a lot out of it. Yeah. Next, guys, we're getting there. Just hang with me. If you like this so far, hit the like button. Let me know that you are enjoying this. Come back if you have to and rewatch this, or chunk it up in pieces. This is a dense video. I get it, but we're moving on here. So next, cold shower ice plunge. We're getting kind of into the funner stuff, the stuff that kind of gets me more excited. Cold shower ice plunge. So if you haven't heard much about this, essentially, cold shower is obviously a cold shower. You're just turning it all the way cold and getting super cold from this cold shower. It makes me feel pretty great. right? Cold showers are good. It's a good start. Ice plunge is like the next level. It's like that on steroids. If you've ever done an ice plunge or a really cold shower and you get out there and you're like, wow, I feel great. This is for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of, I'll just skip to it here, but it increases in baseline dopamine. Okay, so it doesn't spike it, but it just increases your baseline. Okay, you can go watch Dr. Humerman here. This is kind of the guy I go to, the neuroscientist that studies at Stanford about dopamine and how that affects your motivation, focus, everything like that. So it's a great resource right here to go check out. But he talks about this in studies that cold showers, actually not cold showers, but ice plunges. Cold showers is just a great segue, and it still makes you feel great. Ice plunge is where this really gets up there. Okay. Also, what I noticed, if I do a cold shower in the morning, my first thing, I'm groggy, I'm just waking up, I'm tired, I don't want to do anything. If I take a cold shower right away, yes, it's so hard to get in that cold shower, right? Because you're already kind of chilly in the morning, and you want to just curl up with your blankie. But if you get in that cold shower and you take 10 minutes in there, 5 to 10 minutes, it's really hard. But when you get out, it feels like you've already done the hardest thing in the morning. Like it's so hard that everything else seems easy. It makes you feel great, starts your day off the right way. So I'm a huge fan of cold showers. I'm actually probably going to be building an ice plunge here with a freezer. I'll let you guys know how that goes, but I'm super excited to kind of dig deeper into that. Next, Wim Hof here. So if you guys want to learn more about ice baths, kind of what that does, who got me into this stuff, it's Wim Hof here. If you just go Wim Hof ice baths on YouTube, he's a pretty crazy guy, and he kind of teaches you the way of how this works. You can see he's got 1.79 million followers, so he's not some weirdo not getting attention. This stuff actually works, and it's pretty great. Wim Hof 61 birthday, 61-minute ice bath celebration. Okay, so dig deeper into that if that's something that interests you. Bonus here, a sauna. Ice baths in a dry sauna. There's no things that make me feel better and more motivated after those things. After a good sweat, or sitting in frigid waters. Okay. Next, we're gonna talk about meditation. Okay. So meditation is a big one here. We could see next to sleep. We'll talk about that too. But meditation, this is huge, right? If you have habits, if you have things that you don't really realize what's going on, right? I know that's kind of weird to say, and it's pretty hard to kind of know if you don't know things are going on, how do you know they exist, right? Blah, blah, blah. Meditation gives you the clarity of those things. So when you're sitting down and meditating, and you're just focusing on your breath and going back, all of a sudden you'll see these, you shouldn't say see, but it's how it feels to me, is you'll hear these thoughts, or you'll see these thoughts in your head kind of come across, like, oh, I need to go switch laundry around, right? And you're like, what the heck? I'm just focusing my breath. It's really easy. Why can't I stay focused? And so you have all these things kind of going on in your brain that are drawing your attention away and everything like that. So this gives you clarity, especially when it's like when you're reaching for your phone and you're going to an app. This is kind of like this kind of gives you the mental awareness of what you're doing, right? Because in meditation, you're sitting there focusing your breath, and then you learn to kind of realize you've lost your train of thought. So you come back on your breath. So when you've learned to realize you lost your train of thought, then you can realize you're doing things subconsciously, right? Like reaching for your phone. Okay. If that moment when you reach for your phone, don't know it, this kind of gives you that clarity. This awakes you essentially to know what's going on here. Also, it helps you build extreme focus. Okay. So this is why I like to do it. There's different types of meditation, but essentially what I'm trying to do here is realize and have more control over, I shouldn't say control over my thoughts, but more awareness of my thoughts and what's going on here. Next, I wanted to build my strength for focusing. And when you're going back on your breath, in and out, just focusing on the sensation of breathing, and you're losing focus, when you're coming back to focus, because that's the whole goal of meditation, you're training yourself to be able to focus on one task for longer. Okay, and I can't think of anything more boring and more strength training than focusing on your breath, right? It's why it's easy to sit there and focus on a TV all day. It's super stimulating, super high in dopamine. This is not. This is just training brute kind of force, focus. Next, 20 minutes every morning. So this is what I do. I do 20 minutes every morning to set a timer. Again, it's so simple. Just feel the sensation of your breath. I use the tip of my nose. It doesn't have to be more extreme to this. Keep it really simple. If you really want to get into this and have the effects even quicker, add an extra session before bed. This one will help you sleep a lot better. I noticed that myself. And you'll just kind of get those effects of a better focus and understanding your thought patterns and everything like that a lot quicker. There are some apps out there. I don't use an app, but Calm app is big. And then Waking Up by Sam Harris. If you want to be guided and kind of taught more about meditation, I like Sam Harris for this. Just type in Sam Harris guided meditation up here. But he is great to kind of just walk you through kind of the point of meditation, what you're looking for, how to do it, everything like that. So this is a really good resource there for you guys. Okay. Next, and finally, guys, we're about here. Okay. So I can make this a probably 3-hour video if I wanted to, but we're in the final here, and this is going to give you the basics of what I focus on. Okay. So sleep, I use an Oura ring. So what this is just a sleep tracker. Okay. It's kind of expensive. It's like $200. And I'm not expecting everybody to use it, but I'll just give you the insight of what I learned from using this. Okay. So the metrics, what it taught me is like what affects my sleep, what doesn't affect my sleep, how do I get the best sleep. So you'll pretty much for free get the insight of what you should be doing to get the best results possible, and everything like that. The first one is go to bed the same time every night, no exceptions. Okay. So if you want to get up at, 8 p.m., you should probably start to get to bed by 11 a.m. Give yourself an hour wind down time, which you're going to use no screens. Okay, that's step C here. No screens, because this stuff, the blue light keeps your mind active, keeps your mind racing. If you're working, things like that, it's going to keep your brain active too, and you're not going to be able to wind down. So you need an hour before you wind down. I need 8 hours of sleep. I'm just a bear. I've tried 6-7 hours. It just doesn't work for me. So I need an hour to wind down, and then I need 8 hours of sleep. So I want to get up at 8 a.m. I'm going to bed by 11 a.m., getting wind down for about an hour. Maybe you read, maybe you meditate in that hour, maybe you just lay in bed. Who knows what you do there? But yeah, so you're just going to no screens, kind of low level light, things like that, no blue light. And so you just make that a habit. Once you go to bed every night, same time, you'll start getting tired this time normally. You'll feel better in the morning. Your body will get more on a rhythm, circadian rhythm, I believe that's called. So that's very big right there. D, do not eat 2 to 3 hours before bed. Okay, so if your digestion gets going, you get your gut just sitting there, just gut rot. You're laying horizontal. Your brain, I shouldn't say your brain, but your body's focused on digesting, and you're going to have worse sleep from this. Again, this is all stuff I've followed from the data of the Oura ring. If I eat late, I have worse sleep. If I don't go to bed at the same time every night, I have worse sleep by a lot. Okay. Next, alcohol absolutely destroys sleep. Okay, this is like, it is so bad. Okay, so if I have a glass of whiskey before bed, let's say like a couple hours before bed, even a couple hours, my sleep scores will drop by like 50%, like no joke. I'll get less REM, I'll get less deep by about 50%. And this essentially it destroys your sleep. So just keep that in mind. Alcohol before bed, terrible. Alcohol, even I think 4 to 5 hours before bed, it's probably bad. Okay. Next, caffeine. So no caffeine 8 to 10 hours before bed. This is huge. Again, caffeine is a stimulant. It's going to keep you up at night. It's going to keep your brain active. And so if you have this stuff to say at 5 p.m., yeah, it's going to be really hard to go to bed at like 10 p.m. You're not going to do it. Okay. So keep your caffeine. A good rule of thumb is if you're on a normal work schedule, just no caffeine after noon. If you're super addicted, if you're, love caffeine and it doesn't affect you much, maybe just try 2 p.m. 2 p.m. is my latest cutoff if I am drinking caffeine, if I'm actually doing that. Okay, so that's sleep there. These are the biggest things for motivation, for focus, ever. These things, if you master these things, you will see a drastic improvement in your life. You'll have more control of your life. You'll be able to focus. I'm telling you right now, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, these are the things you need to focus on. Like no joke. Like if you go watch people who have $1 million businesses, $10 million business, $100 million businesses, right? Even the $1 million businesses, they all think about this stuff. They're all focusing on this stuff. This is the stuff they don't talk about because that doesn't get the clicks. It doesn't get the likes. It doesn't get the watch. It's the boring stuff. But everybody who has success in entrepreneurship that doesn't die of a heart attack by 35 or have a terrible work-life balance or have terrible relationships in their life or is using drugs and alcohol to cope with their unhealthy work schedule, they're doing this. This is what they're doing. Okay, they're all focusing on this. Okay, so hopefully this gives you light and understanding of I think about this stuff every day. I really I just want to get better at this stuff because I know it's what drives me in the morning, things like that. I kind of got out of control with the holidays. Thanksgiving, I was eating pumpkin pie every day. And I got out of my routine. I got out of focusing on this stuff. I was focusing, when you're with family, they're kind of boring sometimes. I was scrolling through my phone, watching Netflix, watching movies, watching sports. Okay. So we need to get control of ourselves here. Okay. This stuff cannot be fixed overnight. I wouldn't try it all at once either. Okay. Slowly start to implement, notice how these behaviors are affecting your life. That's the easiest. If you all try to do this, all the way done, 100% out, you're not going to be able to do it and you're going to feel like a failure. Okay. So this is one of these things. So it's a balance, right? So, this is like perfect optimal help. We're doing everything perfectly. It's the highest focus and motivation. This is just a normal life where you actually have enjoyment, right? We're trying to stay in between this somehow. Maybe, some parts of your life during the holidays, maybe it's more around here, but learning how to get back over here when needed. Okay. So we have different seasons in our life. This helps us kind of control, go back and forth. Okay. So you're not gonna be perfect in this. I'm not perfect in this. I'll never be perfect in this, but I'm gonna try to get better and slowly implement things over and over again and create habits. Okay. For best results, definitely, I think the dopamine detox, the caffeine cleanse, as they're very, very hard. They're the most important thing, especially in our lifetime. That's kind of how our world works these days. Getting off the phone, getting off the computer, getting off social media. Stop watching Netflix all night. Stop coping with alcohol. Stop coping with drugs and everything like that. Whether it's even marijuana to hopefully you're not doing the hard stuff. This, again, you're going to have to work a lot harder at this stuff. Of course, it's not medical advice. I'm not a doctor. This is just my opinion based on self-experimentation and learning. Okay. I obviously have to throw that in there to make sure everybody's good to go there. All right, guys, I know it was a long one. Hopefully it was helpful and enlightening. If you missed parts of it, if you didn't understand parts of it, I will put these things down in chapters so you can keep rewatching where you want to rewatch and explore. If you have any questions about this stuff, let me know down below in the comments. Again, if you're interested in Amazon FBA, that's kind of what my focus on this channel is. Go back, watch all my videos on that. Otherwise, guys, I hope you have a great day. Any links in the description down below will lead you to more more information about Amazon FBA, about me, things like that. Make sure you check those out. Otherwise, guys, I hope you subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, guys, peace out.